All right, let's jump back in. This one, I don't want to do too many of these, but this one, for whatever reason, grabbed my attention out of all the many Star Citizen versus Starfield. I think it's just because it's such a troll title. CIG backer explains 5 reasons why Starfield will destroy Star Citizen. I just immediately think that's a terrible take, and this has to be funny. So, yeah, let's watch it.
So, 5 ways in which Starfield will destroy Star Citizen. No joke, I think there's a lot of competition here. Let's get to it. But before we go on, keep in mind, I'm coming from a place of being a backer of Star Citizen for a couple years now. I've been playing quite a bit. I enjoy the things that are there to enjoy, and I'm critical of those things that are worth criticizing and bringing up so as to make it better. That's the way I go about life, not just focusing on the good qualities, but especially when there are things to improve. Yeah, and the success behind Starfield will be because of that man you just saw there. Todd Howard has done a fantastic job, and I actually wrote down his quote. I was just watching.
Todd Howard hasn't done anything yet. The game isn't out, right? We haven't seen what the release is like. I think we really need to calm down on this stuff a little bit, okay? I think they've done a really good job with the design of the game and some of the design elements of the game, which are many things that we hope are in Star Citizen in so many ways. But as far as, nothing's out yet, so I'm not sure what we're soying over so much.
An interview of his. We put so much into it. That's something he repeated twice. Twice he said that in the interview with IGN. We put so much into it. That's the big difference between Starfield and Star Citizen.
Are we trying to say Star Citizen devs don't put their heart and soul into what they have? I don't think that's fair. I have the luxury and I feel very, very lucky to know some of these people personally, and I know that they care so much and put a lot of time into it. It's not their fault that they work for CIG and, there's other problems, right?
Star Citizen has been something that has been focusing mostly on ship sales and marketing, and not so much on we put so much into it. There's just not enough meat. There's just not enough new content. Years go.
Agreed. Obviously, there's not enough meat. There's not enough new content. But then you always come down to this stupid server meshing argument that we have to sit here and wait for this magical tech to save us. And it sucks, but it's also what do you do? The communication, the things that are communicated to the player, what do you want this guy to think, though? Somebody says shitty take on the ship sale thing. Sure, but at the same time, is it? Because what's communicated to you on a regular basis, right? Game development, ship sales, game development's hard, ship sale. Here's a sprint report, by the way. Oh, hey, big mining update. Pretty cool, right? Oh, back to ship sales, right? Oh, next patch. Can't finish your mining update. Oh, salvage update, right? Salvage missions. Oh, by the way, it's live. They didn't even get to do the work they wanted to on it. So it's it's one of these things where that patch, does anyone recognize patch 319 came out super quick, unpolished, and unfinished because of a ship sale? So this guy's not wrong at all about stuff like this. Okay? But at the same time, there's this annoying thing that is server meshing that they can't figure out, can't do anything with, and are slowly and have very slowly been working towards, that is supposed to be the savior of some kind for a lot of us. Anybody I think me and this guy are probably very similar. We want gameplay content. We want a game. Well, it's been communicated many times that they don't want to do, big gameplay stuff until server meshing is in, because that's sort of the now they know the limits of the game, right? And that's what we are chained to our chairs waiting for that to happen, and it just sucks because it's not an enjoyable game to play. And I get where this guy's coming from. I don't think it's a very good take, because I don't think mission teams aren't working on ship sales, right? They're working on missions within the limitations that they have, which are terrible servers and no server meshing and probably small scope for the missions that they can do, and they're not given the green light to do big grand things because no server meshing. So it kind of sucks.
Go by and it's tweaking little things here and there. Starfield is something else. So 5 ways in which
Broken
Starfield will be a huge upset for Star Citizen. First of all, you're talking about a finished, complete game. That's the main thing that Star Citizen does.
There are many finished, complete games.
You don't have a story. You don't have true role-playing elements. You wear suits and clothes and so on, but you don't develop an actual character. You don't have a backstory. You don't have a story that you're working on as you play. You don't grow as a character in this world.
Here's the thing. All of this guy's takes are super good. The problem is like the way he's framing them, right? Like, it's very simple to go, why is Star Citizen not fun, and why do I think Starfield is going to be fun? It's not that Starfield is killing Star Citizen by any means. It's a single player game. It's a game that you're going to pick up, you're going to play it for a while, and you're probably going to put down and maybe come back to Star Citizen, maybe play other games, right? But there's a very good chance that Starfield is not a forever game. Skyrim is this like one-off insane thing. To expect any game to be a Skyrim is nuts, right? So how I look at this is I go, yeah, dude, I agree 100%. I am not tied to my character whatsoever, ever. We have wipes. There's zero character progression. There's zero story in the game, right? And that's where you go, yeah, man. Like, do you see what people are excited about, Chris Roberts? Do you see, development studio at CIG? Do you see what people care about? It's not ships, dude. It's not ships. It's character progression. It's story. It's some of these things. And that's why players who are fans of Star Citizen, this guy's a fan of Star Citizen, feel that way because they're looking at things that are missing. The things that matter to them are missing, right? And that's the problem,
You're basically stuck to the same game mechanic that's been around for over a decade. So that would be one of the main obvious thing is AAA game by Bethesda, and here's where someone quickly brings out Fallout 76 was a complete failure. Well,
it doesn't matter.
It was. I didn't even buy Fallout 76.
This is going to launch poorly, most likely.
It was one of those money grabs that never end up well for the player. So the moment in which Todd Howard said you won't have a single NPC, it would all be real people, I was like, what? You really didn't bother putting a single NPC in this game? There's no character to interact in the game? What? No, I'm not interested in this. And that's kind of the same thing.
Okay, I mean, just because you weren't interested in Fallout 76 doesn't mean that it was really problematic and is a really bad look for Bethesda, right? And by no means does doing that have any defense for Star Citizen and what they've done over the years. Like,
happens with Star Citizen. You don't have anyone to get involved with. You have some salesperson that is barely there. You basically interact with the screens. The NPCs are just standing on chairs most of the time, doing nothing at all. So that is the obvious big thing. You're talking about tech demo, basically, with lots of cool ships, but kind of stuck to a tech demo format right now with very little else, versus the guys that did Skyrim, the guys that did Fallout, right? Fallout 3, Fallout 4. These are...
dude, you have the guy who did Wing Commander. You had the guy who did Freelancer. You had the guy who did Privateer. Like, those are pretty sick games, too. I mean, I know Skyrim is like, one of the biggest games ever, right? It's hard to make that comparison. We just talked about that a second ago. But, I mean, Chris Roberts is not nobody.
That created some of the best video games ever, that's Bethesda. So keep that in mind. Largest IP in the last couple decades. You have a fully AAA release game that was delayed just to make it even better, less buggy and so on. You have that versus the complete opposite, which is the no game alpha that is
I mean, you have no idea how this is releasing. Again, I think this guy is going to have his foot in his mouth pretty soon.
Star Citizen. Number 2, 1,000 planets. Over 1,000 planets to go exploring. That is one of the main things that hurts so much from Star Citizen is there's nowhere to explore. You buy your Carrack, in-game or with real money. You buy your ships, your exploration ships, but there's nowhere to go exploring. You have 4 planets with one little city in each, and it's more about the visuals than any actual ground to be covered and exploring and interacting with the citizens and the city itself. No, it's just a place that was created and it looks nice at times, but there's not a whole lot there for you to do. So with 1,000 planets, you can do real exploration. You can get into your ship and go.
Fair, very fair. What is real exploration? I've noticed exploration for people all seems to be defined in a different way. For me, I think the really special thing with the planets is that there's base building is there. So you go to these planets, you make a base, you extract the resources from them. So even though you're not there, they're working for you. When I go explore your mom's house, oh, okay, yeah. That I guess that's exploration as well for some people. But tell her I said hi. I haven't spoken to her in a couple days. But the thing about the like actual exploration is, I just think it's more of like treasure hunting in Star Citizen than science exploration. I don't know. I don't find going to, every moon that I've seen there looked pretty barren, pretty lame. Procedural, that's the issue with procedural tech is they're usually pretty boring. They do some hand play stuff. I think the really special one is that there seem to be some story things on some of these planets and moons and stuff. We'll see. But I don't consider that like that big of a win. I just think it's something that fills out the game. They're using that number because it's a big number and it sounds special, but in reality, I think it's going to be the part of like the tedium of the game that people may not like is actually the going here to get resources and all this stuff. I think that's probably going to be one of the more annoying parts of the game, to be honest.
To the beyond. 1,000 planets is enough for you to not quite recognize all of them. If you had like 10, 20, you wouldn't be doing all that much exploration in 10 planets. I mean, at first you go looking around, but eventually exploration means you go into a multiple day adventure. Your time, not in game. Talking about you go somewhere and you spend your time in your ship and you keep on going further, pushing the boundaries. You don't have to do any of that in Star Citizen with 4 planets and a bunch of moons. There's no exploration. Here with 1,000 planets, that is
There's no
what
reason
Star
to.
Citizen has been talking about, promising, and not actually delivering. Starfield will deliver on that. 3, the ships. The ships are a lot better than what I thought they were. I thought at first it seemed like kind of always the same Lego building. No.
The ships are very cool in terms. It's a very interesting conversation to have about like the success of ships in Starfield and the success of ships in Star Citizen. They're both successful for their own reasons. I prefer the customization ideas that Starfield has over the we're all flying the same ship. They all look very similar, but it's also Star Citizen ships are, I think they're a little bit slicker, a little bit cooler, better interiors in some ways and stuff like that. But the idea of building your own is very cool. Very cool.
It's a lot more complete than that, and there's a lot more
Legion?
variety than that. You can go buy ships as they are. You can go pick a ship from a pirate and go sell it. You can do all of these cool things, or keep it. That in Star Citizen, well, you cannot sell ships in Star Citizen because that hurts the business of ship sales. So always corporate greed over enjoyment of the player. That's simply because it's a different business model. This is what a lot of guys playing Star Citizen don't understand.
It's so funny because it is corporate greed, but like the kings of corporate greed are like Microsoft, Bethesda, Activision, right? Like these are some of the worst people ever. CIG is greedy, but it's like in this it's in this super weird way that like allows everybody to defend it, which is they're greedy so they can keep making the game. If they aren't greedy, the game ends. If they aren't greedy, they no longer make the game anymore. Right? So it's kind of this weird thing where they've put themselves in this thing where they can't do anything about it.
The business model of Star Citizen is selling ships. The business model of Bethesda is over here. That's selling a great game. That's the big difference. When you work on your money is being made, when you sell a great game, that's completely different from your money is being made when you sell ships in a tech demo, which is what we have.
How do they even sell ships in
with
a
all
tech
of the
demo?
good and
It's
bad?
insane.
It's simply the reality of what we have. So I saw in this showcase a lot more of those ships being much cooler than I thought. The way in which you build them and how you can come. I mean, there's a freaking like a transformer, like kind of like a joke that one of the people there from the Bethesda showed. And that just gives you an idea of how versatile and how different you can build things. I thought it was a lot better than my first impression. Number 4, they're obviously borrowing the best from No Man's Sky, from Star Citizen, and from Elite Dangerous and a bunch of other games. And that's perfectly fine. It's always good to take from other good sources and make it even better. Combine it to make it your own and make something awesome with that. Look at these cities. Look at this. You don't have any of this in Star Citizen. Why
That's
on
not
earth
true.
would you?
Oh my God, the city location. Have you seen Hurston? Have you seen Lorville? Like these city locations are that's like one of the good things. Come on, that's not fair. Listen, I don't think that's fair.
Spend your time. That's one of the things that will be the biggest.
The difference is I don't walk up to this mercantile person here like I probably can, or other random people, and get a quest. And, you know, they're probably not functioning the way that we'd like them to, unfortunately.
Nailed in the coffin.
You're not grounded to these locations. You kind of go there to do your thing and then you leave, right? But the idea of Star Citizen not having good cities is kind of crazy. Like Microtech's really cool. Crusader, it's all right. Orison. But then I think Hurston really shows the possibilities there are going to probably far exceed what is here. Whether that'll work at a good frame rate, whether we'll have NPCs that are still not standing on chairs, all that remains to be seen. But I think he's taking the art, and I just don't think you can like just dismiss the art that is in Star Citizen. It's not fair.
And I'm talking from a place of being a backer, and I want Star Citizen to do great. I just realized that it won't, because it's just stuck in this mechanic of just ship
I want it to be great, but I realize it won't.
Not actual game developing.
It still can.
This is the thing that will do it. These cities where you can actually go explore. One of the things that will change for CIG is that even though people that play Star Citizen have disposable income, what we have is a certain amount of time that we want to enjoy. Obviously, it's tailoring for a market of older adult gamers that don't care about spending a few $100 here and there, but we do still care a lot more about our time. My time will be a lot better invested in my fun, equation doing this.
Of
than
course.
Going again to the same 4 freaking
100%.
things that I've seen all along.
100%. And that's the thing that nobody seems to respect in the Star Citizen community when we talk about ship sales, adding gameplay, any of those things. How long am I going to be on? How much time do I have left on this earth? Nobody knows. Can we focus on the game? Right? We all want to play Star Citizen. And my time in the short term, from September, whenever this releases, to whenever I'm done playing the game will be much more enjoyable playing something like this than playing something like that. This shit is single player. Who cares about that? Cool. Have fun by yourself. Okay. Like, go play Rust then. Like, if we're going to make the multiplayer argument and PvP arguments that the game is better, like, because it has PvP, there are 10,000 better PvP games than are in Star Citizen. There are 10,000 games that are better to interact with other people than in Star Citizen, right? So, like, these arguments are so stupid. It is a completely incomplete experience. Everybody, I believe, in my heart of heart, believes that everybody is still excited about Star Citizen because they have built a very cool foundation isn't the right word, but like chessboard to play on. It's beautiful. It's big. It looks expansive, and if I could do what I want in it, it'll be really fun. The sandbox, sure. I guess that's the right word. Is the sandbox looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and there's going to be a lot of different color sand and cool things, and we'll be able to make something cool with it. It's just a matter of they haven't added the sand into the box is the issue, right? But so making any arguments about single player, multiplayer, Star Citizen, Starfield is kind of silly. Again, going back to my first points, is I think the best thing to do in these scenarios is go see all these things that just as a developer at Star Citizen, as somebody who's setting the priorities, look and see what your backers are looking at and going, this is what's important to me, and highlight that in your game, right? And I think a big thing is people seem to be really excited about the ships. Don't think you're going to be able to do that. You have modularity a little bit on some of them. Haven't made it yet, right? So maybe ship teams should prioritize modularity. Sounds like they are already. Cool. Character progression is another thing. And, NPCs, things like that, your interactions with them running your ships, base building, all these things are really kind of hitting the notes that your community wants, right? So it's not about Star Citizen versus, it's just saying, hey, this is a great opportunity for CIG to know what their priorities should be, because this is what their player base is really excited about. That's how I look at this. It's very simple.
My expectation is that maybe in a few years, Star Citizen will be at least a shadow of what it promises it will be. But on the meantime, I'll be playing this, not Star Citizen, as soon as it releases. And every once in a while, I'll go back and check it. But this is awesome. This is what we've always wanted. So this is why so many...
I mean, the whole thing is that's what you should be doing with Star Citizen. People have invested lots of money, invested lots of time. I mean, I am obviously... have made a career playing the game. I don't want to call it a career. I have this job that I have for right now playing Star Citizen, right? And I'll ride this fun that I'm having as long as I possibly can because it's awesome. Thank you, everybody who watches the React videos, people who are here on Twitch for allowing me to have the job of my dreams. I could never be happier than I am right now, and thank you for that. But the idea of Star Citizen is sort of meant to be like, hey, let me come check out the new stuff. Okay, I checked it out. Let me go back to playing Starfield. Let me go play Diablo. Let me go play Rust. Let me go play whatever other games that I normally play. That's sort of how it's meant to be consumed at the moment. It's ridiculous that it's year 11 and we're still consuming it that way, but here we are, right?
Many guys that are now playing Star Citizen will go into playing their Starfield. I mean, I bought an Xbox just for this. I haven't played maybe...
What? Okay, you just lost me. That's it. You have a computer that can play Star Citizen, and you bought an Xbox just for this, where they said it was going to be locked at 4K 30. Every point you've made is now done with me. I'm done. That is so ridiculous.
Over an hour on Xbox, and they have a bunch of games that I bought, but this is the thing that will change that for me. And I know it's the same for so many other guys playing Star Citizen. So one of the things that caught my attention,
none of us are buying an Xbox.
Bethesda guys, or even I think it was Todd Howard himself, who said you can go ship hauling and trading. He said cargo hauling. That's the literal quotation. Cargo hauling is directly out of your Starfield, of your Star Citizen, of your Elite Dangerous, and it's gonna be one of these things. Yeah, it's cargo hauling is straight out of Star Citizen. That's now in Starfield. You can go cargo hauling across 1,000 planets in Starfield. How awesome is that? You can combine it to your freighter thing.
I don't think that's the case.
No Man's Sky,
because Star Citizen cargo hauling is not very good, so it's probably Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, of the freighters, the way in which they genius not go.
I mean, if they had a $10,000 package, I think this guy's buying it for Starfield.
Going for No Man's Sky or having 1 billion planets. No, 1,000 good ones. That's what you want.
Missing.
Yeah, and by good I mean, some of these will be just mining places and resources, but maybe just a little drop of excitement and adventure here and there, and random encounter in these places. That's sprinkling a little bit of that a possibility in places that are mostly barren, but not quite so. That's what you'll get here. I get what he's trying to do, and it's pretty impressive, and is exactly what so many of us have always wanted. And finally, number 5, final nail in this space game coffin.
Oh, this is the final nail.
When I'm talking ironically, Star Citizen is not likely to disappear anytime soon. Careful. If this goes very well, if Starfield does exceedingly well, it will put a massive dent on the sales of ships of Star Citizen. Why the hell would you?
In the short term, like this Alien Week sale, I do think that's true. Type a 1 in chat if you were thinking about, man, I don't think anyone's thinking about it here, but like if you were thinking about buying a ship at Alien Week, but now you might want to invest a little bit of money in Starfield instead, like you might pre-order or something like that. Anybody who's buying ships in Star Citizen are likely still pre-ordering games, even though they know they're not going to work out well on release, right? So I can imagine that people who are considering buying Alien Week ships might take it and buy the pre-order so you could get to play this 5 days earlier or whatever, right? Like I think it's $100. I think they'll take their $100 and spend it on Starfield this week instead of Alien ships, right? That's my guess. So I think in the short term, sure. In the long term, absolutely not.
Go buying ships for a game that has 4 freaking planets with nothing left and nothing in the horizon of, Pyro, when? Theaters of War, when? Years and years go by, you have to be very naive to keep believing this. But
when?
The final point for me is going to be number 5, mods. The possibility of players making this their own, literally, not only talking about the expansions, which Bethesda is actually very good at and very well known for. The expansions, imagine this with expansions, with game mods. I mean, it is unbelievable how much you could possibly do from this foundation that will be Starfield. Man, super excited, super happy that it's coming soon enough, because I can't wait to jump in there and try to poke around and have fun. So much more content, stories, stuff. Even the first-person shooter element is a lot more fine-tuned and developed. It's much better than it is in Starfield, Star Citizen for sure, and much better than it was in some of the earlier trailers that we saw. So yeah, and now for the other aspect, this is nothing like the groundbreaking tech that Star Citizen. Yeah, okay. You stay with that narrative, the bullshit story of it's never been done before. It's a game. Give us a freaking actual game to
Hell
play.
Yeah,
because
based.
all of the super science, PES, whatever you want, you know what? You have it in other games. And when you start removing all of the things that just have to disappear because if not, servers crash. The greediness of not putting enough servers so as to keep things going correctly. I mean, it goes on and on. I don't want to do this into a Star Citizen trashing video, but we have to be honest about the massive difference of a company that focuses only on ship sales and very little else, and an actual legendary game developer like the one we have here. The final element of multiplayer. Someone, oh, but it's not a multiplayer. Who the hell cares about multiplayer? Most of the time, 99% of people playing Star Citizen just want to never come across anyone, because if you're doing cargo hauling, which you will do at ease, comfortably in Starfield, maybe a random NPC pirate here in there to keep things excited, but you don't have to deal with the griefers, with the PvPers. I mean,
bro, the Reddit spectrum, like there are way less PvPers than there are like players who just want to be left alone, right? Like that is true and real. That is true and real. So anybody making the multiplayer argument, that is fucking based, what he just said right there. Like, I prefer multiplayer, right? I prefer playing with other people. I came to Star Citizen for that. But the amount of Care Bears in this community, he is not lying about, right?
I like the element of risk that the multiplayer aspect of potential PvP fighting, especially when after a while you get good at it and you can actually defeat another human being that's trying to, pirate you or loot you or PvP you. Yeah, it is fun. It is enjoyable. Blowing the crap out of someone with your tiny ship because they thought they had the upper hand. It is entertaining. Is it something that I'll miss a whole lot? No. I mean, if it's there, great, but I'd rather have the actual AAA fully released awesome game that will be Starfield all day long over that.
I'd rather have, you can have both. You can have both. It's a fucking video game, man. You pick this one up for a couple hours and guess what? You can Alt F4, or you could turn off your Xbox that you bought for Starfield and then go to your computer and turn on Star Citizen and play that too.
Guys, it's going to be all for now. That's my take on it. Honestly, final thoughts. I hope Star Citizen survives and does well. And you know what? I wish that this is a wake-up call for the people in CIG that have some very nasty habits, not only just in the
I think it's the way
also in which they treat their customers, their backers, people that have deposited so much trust, and just being so horrible to backers all the time. Spectrum is a perfect example of that, banning people just for the honest, legit concern that they have.
100%.
It just makes you wonder how thick your skin can be, how far you can take being treated like that by the people that you're actually supporting, and allowing them to do what they do, and they betray you and stab you time and again. There's eventually a point where you say, you know what, enough is enough, you do you. But in the meantime, I'll be playing the crap out of Starfield as soon as it comes out, and I'll be checking on Star Citizen every once in a while to see if they finally cared enough about backers to put some actual meat on those bones that is the tech demo that we have so far. See you on our next video. Take care.
All right, that was cool. I mean, listen, I think he had a lot of really base takes. I think he had a lot of bad ones too, right? As we all do. None of us are perfect. But I do think that Starfield is it is a perfect call to action for CIG to go, all right, what do our backers care about? What should we prioritize in the next little bit? And yeah, I mean, for me personally, like I said earlier, it's character progression, things like that, feeling like I'm making progress with my character in the game, and I don't currently feel that in Star Citizen. I think that that's very much an RPG element that can easily be added to Star Citizen and kind of make the game a better experience for players. I don't know, it's not my job to tell them how to do those things, not skills. I think character progression can be done with items. I think character progression can be done with reputation that unlocks new experiences and story. I think it's character and ship progression are the keys, right? Is no, we can't currently do Starfield building of our ships, but character progression with armor, weapons, shields, things like that, FPS weapons, all those things, making those items actually matter. What does it matter with character progress if we keep getting wiped? Wipes happen in Rust. Wipes happen in DayZ. When you die in DayZ, you essentially get wiped, right? So progressing your character in the short term is fun also. But I think in Star Citizen, we can extend that longer than that time, right? Wipes still happen in Tarkov, still very popular. Yes, but I think wipes are not something that should be. Wipes happen in Tarkov because Tarkov's not a good enough game to maintain long term. We want Star Citizen to maintain long term, but we all have to agree there's no game to maintain, right? So they have to start somewhere, start small, and create those progressions systems. Right now, you just basically have ship purchases in game where some people do it, some people don't. Cool. I think that's a very good thing. I think we can build upon it and do more of it. And that's how I feel. Is I think we should take Starfield's launch. If I was CIG, and just look at what your player base cares about, and start cultivating those elements in your game, right? And making them better. This isn't add more feature creep to the game. It's what are the elements of Star Citizen that are also in Starfield that people really care about, and build those things up, right? And I think that would be really great.